Welcome to Eve's Creative Laboratory. I'm Eve. Today I'm going to be breaking down pork butt. And I got this giant thing of pork butt, which is actually pork shoulder, but my kids think it's funny because it's also called pork butt. I got this huge thing at Costco. This was $37.83, and it's about 16 and a half pounds of pork shoulder. So I'm going to be pressure cooking it in my two pressure cookers. I have a 6-quart and an 8-quart, and I need both of them to cook this amount of pork. I loosely follow a recipe that I found in this book. It's the Nom Nom Paleo Ready or Not cookbook. And the recipe that I follow is on page 129. It's called Pressure Cooker Kahlua Pork. And I have loosely followed this recipe for years now, and it's our favorite, me and the kids. And after I cook a large amount of pork butt like this, I clean it off, so I pick through the fatty and gristly bits, and I take all the meat off, and I put it in these containers, and I can freeze it, and then just use one container at a time. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. For this, I like to use my plastic cutting board because this can go into the dishwasher and I can sterilize it that way. And underneath this, I have a damp paper towel so that my cutting board doesn't slide around on me as I'm cutting with my super sharp knife. So I'm going to show how I break down this giant thing of pork shoulder and also how I season it. And then I'm going to pressure cook it. Let's see. This suggests 75 minutes. I typically do 90 minutes because I really like it when it gets super soft and it's easy to pull apart. So I found that 90 minutes is better for me and my particular pressure cookers. Let's get started. Okay, I brought my garbage bowl over here for some of the fat. You want to keep most of the fat on this, but sometimes there are gigantic chunks that can be taken off. Like this might be a little too much. And some of this fat is good to cook in, but also this is a lot of bulk and I don't want to overfill my 2 pots here. So some of the fat's going to have to go. Now this pork shoulder from Costco is actually boneless, so that makes it really easy. And I just cut it into hand size or fistful size pieces like this. I might actually have to do another batch. This might not fit in both of the containers at the same time. Okay, this isn't all gonna fit, so I'm gonna put the rest of the meat in this bowl and do it in a 3rd batch. Okay, this way at least I can season everything all at the same time And then as soon as one of these batches finishes, I can swap it out and then cook it for another 90 minutes. So let me clean this up and then I'll show how I season it. First, we need a lot of garlic. I get this giant garlic, minced garlic at Costco, and I put a couple spoonfuls in each container. Maybe more. Next, I'm gonna put in some red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper. The packets that you get at pizza places work good for this too. I'm going to put in a little black pepper. A touch of Italian seasoning. And this is part of the experiment. I flavor it differently every time I make it. And then I like to use this like rock salt. This is Himalayan pink crystal salt. And then I'll just throw in a small handful, which is maybe, I don't know, a tablespoon. And this makes it really good. And then you have to put in some liquid. So I'm gonna put in 1 cup of water in each one of these. And then I'm just gonna turn the pieces of meat just to make sure everything is evenly flavored. Okay, now I'm gonna put these in to the pressure cooker for 90 minutes and then check them and see if they pull apart easily. Also, if my kids are watching in the future, remember when you're working with raw meat to scrub your nails, especially under your nails. So use a nail brush when you're working with raw meat so that you don't transfer or contaminate anything to vegetables or other things. Also, I like to put my pressure cookers in the garage so the house doesn't smell like pork. The first 2 batches are finished cooking and the 3rd batch is cooking right now. I ended up with this much broth. So after I was done emptying out the pots, I put all the meat into this bowl and then I poured all the liquid into a measuring cup and I strained it and I took the fat off the top and this is what was left. So this is good for my kids like making ramen, so they can add this to their ramen broth, or I can use this as a base if I'm going to cook soup or stew. So this is what the meat looks like when it comes out after 90 minutes of cooking. It's all done and it's really, really tender. I can just pull it apart like that. It's really flavorful because of all that rock salt that I put on. And the seasoning came out really good. My kids like it a little spicy, so that's why I put in the red chili flakes, but you don't have to put that if you don't want to. You can just put salt and pepper. It comes out really good. And we like to use this in nachos. My kids also use this in their ramen when they make that. Burritos, or just plain, like we can just have pieces of meat with vegetables for dinner. That's always good. And so I like to pull the fat off because some of these pieces still do have lots of fat chunks on it, like this one. See, this piece is fat, so I'm going to take that off, but I'm going to save all the meat. This is still really hot, so I have to let it cool down first. And then I pick the meat off, and I'll put the meat into these containers, and I'll show you what that looks like after the third batch is done, and so you can see how much meat I end up with. The last batch of pork came out, and this is how much pork I got. This is how much meat I got. Each one of these is 4 cups. And this one I think is 6, the bottom one is 6 cups. So this is gonna make 4 freezer containers and 1 for the refrigerator right now. And this isn't even all of it. One of my sons already ate 2 giant chunks of this before I was even able to put it in a container. So it really made a little bit more than this. And I also got 2 of these containers worth of broth to add to soup or ramen. So I'm gonna link the recipe that I loosely followed in the description box. So now I can make soup and have some frozen pork in the freezer for weeks that are really busy and it's hard to cook dinner.